What's up, y'all? Bud Elliott of the Nolecast here, up here in Nashville, and just got up a little early morning to do a little solo Nolecast short episode. I had a little microphone trouble, so I had to order a part on Amazon. Ultimately, didn't get here in time for Aaron and I to record together, so we will probably do our recording together on Thursday evening. Give you something nice to listen to over the weekend, since FSU is, of course, on the bye week. They are practicing this week, but they're using this time to get healthy. So, try to work on some fundamental stuff, mainly just rest up. It's a team that has been kind of beat up, and yet we got a great win against North Carolina, a pretty dominant win, if you ask me. And it was the first time this year where they've had more of their guys back and healthy. Although I guess you could say they're pretty healthy against Notre Dame, back when Notre Dame was also, fairly healthy, and they gave them a pretty game fight, and that's a reason for for hope. But I got to thinking about this roster, and I wanted to do a little short episode on this. We'll do more of a midseason check-in when Ingram and I reconvene. But I got to thinking, man, like this team looks so much better when it has more of its starters in there. And you might be thinking, hey, Bud, of course, right? Like any team's going to look better with its starters in there, and I think that's probably fair. But I will also note that I think this team in particular, because it had three head coaches in a 4-year span, has some real roster deficiencies that are exposed when you have guys go down at certain spots. The drop off from, hey, that's not a good player but a competitive player within the ACC, to, oh man, that guy just can't play in this league, is real, and I think we've seen it throughout the season at times. And I wanted to get into, sort of why, right? And why I don't know how many more games FSU will win this year. Hell, they might win one more. They might win three more. Who knows? Maybe they catch a whole lot of breaks and win four more. I don't think that's real likely, but it's I guess in theory possible. I know Bill Connolly right now has them about a 15% chance to make a bowl. So if you run his numbers and just kind of simulate that out, okay. I think after an 0-4 start, FSU fans would certainly take a 15% shot to make a bowl game. If this team comes back to make a bowl, that would be pretty incredible. But I wanted to start here, and I did some charting this morning in my notebook. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, you can see me hold up the notebook there. I don't know why I really did that, but this is kind of a pet project of mine, right? I like looking at how things work in the sport of college football, and I like saying, why do things happen, right? Why do we have these defensive teams right now dominating at the top of the sport? Georgia, with a walk-on caliber quarterback, is number one team in the country, and Iowa is sitting number two. And I think if you trace that back, they were the quarterback class of 2019 was very disappointing. I remember you guys probably heard me say, hey, I'm out here to lead 11. Man, this class sucks compared to prior years. It really does. Sorry if you had kids in the car for saying sucks. I hope I can say that. But I guess I probably wouldn't want to say it around my 2-year-old. So apologies. But like that class stunk. And we're seeing that now. I mean, the guys who should be juniors nationally at the quarterback position just aren't good. And Spencer Rattler just probably lost his job. Sam Howell doesn't look like a first-round pick at all. There's a whole lot of guys in that class who just weren't very good compared to like the prior year with Trevor and Justin and those guys who were no doubt studs. And then obviously the 2020 class with Bryce and DJ and CJ and guys who I'm still confident will be absolute studs going forward. I think at least. I'm not losing faith in DJU just yet, given his elite track record against top competition and physical tools. But another one of my pet projects in college football is the effect of the early signing period. And I got to tell you, FSU recruiting-wise could not have timed up its coaching decision worse when it did, right? I mean, Jimbo with all the the personal stuff obviously there in 15 to 17, and then he leaves for A&M, and they bring in a new coach. And Willie Taggart made a lot of mistakes, but one thing that was really out of his control was that 2018 recruiting class. That was the first year of the early signing period. And I got to tell you, a lot of people who signed classes that year as new head coaches their classes absolutely failed, and they're not reaching their full potential right now because of what they got out of those classes. We've seen that at schools that are actually having success, like Florida A&M, and we've seen schools that are not having success in Florida State. Those 2018 classes, for the most part, were huge disappointments, and for the coaches who just got hired and had a scant few weeks to put together the class. And I think the main reason for this is there's sort of like a self-selecting bias. I think you have to incorporate the data of market opinion and figure out why are these kids available, like as a group. Why are you, coach who just got to the school, able to sign this 4-star player who maybe has 4-star physical tools, right? I don't think that there's any reason to doubt that they did, or that their ratings from a physical standpoint were bad. I do think, though, there is a high likelihood that some of these higher rated players that the schools, when they have a new head coach, are signing in that very short window of time, I think they might be available for a bad reason, right? Maybe it's character, injury history, competitive temperament, mental health problems, which we have a couple guys in Willie's first class had, obviously. I really kind of wonder if maybe other schools have superior data on that, and it does make me curious. So I wanted to go through and run through this, and I will tell you that FSU is actually attrition-wise from that 2018 class, kind of middle of the pack, and then we'll see in some future classes how firing coaches that quickly can really mess up your roster for a long time. But check this out. So went ahead and charted this, and what I'm going to define it as basically is did you complete your eligibility at the school or not? Now, for purposes of my analysis, if you went pro early, obviously that counts as completing your eligibility. If you were a graduate transfer, I also counted that as completing your eligibility. So if you got 4 years and bounced, okay, right? Like you went somewhere else, FSU got 4 years out of you, that's plenty. But if you just transferred after sophomore year or something, or got hurt and were done, or got kicked off the team, then obviously I put that in the no column. So let's start with Willie's first class here, and he had a couple weeks to put this together. Now, I promise I'm going somewhere with this, right? Jaden Lars Woodby, obviously now at Boston College, so he's a no. AJ Lighton is a no, transfer dismissed. Asante Samuel, clearly a hit. I mean, total stud. Robert Cooper is a yes. Warren Thompson is a no. Although it looks like he might have his act together a little bit at Arkansas. I know he had a pretty critical drop in that game, but he also had a couple good catches. So good for Warren. Kind of getting his stuff together there. Trayshawn Harrison is a no. Xavier Peters is a no. Malcolm Lamar is a no. Isaiah Bolden is a no. Amari Gaynor, yes, he's still on campus. Cameron McDonald, yeah, still on campus. Christian Meadows is a no. Dennis Briggs is a yes. Jordan Young is a yes, although he doesn't play. So those are the kids that you signed who were in the top 400 players in the country. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 players that you signed were in the 24/7 sports composite. So that's the combining of all the industry sources there. Of those kids, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 of 14 of your top 400 kids that you signed in the 2018 class either completed or on track to complete their eligibility with the Noles. You've got some of your, I don't want to call them scrubs, but some of your lesser rated players are still on campus. But those are guys who obviously have more limited upside. Now, Anthony Grant and Christian Armstrong are both gone. DeMarcus Adams is gone. Jamarcus Chapman is gone. And Chaz Neal is gone. So obviously, even more guys there are gone. But Keyshawn Hilton and Jalen Goss are still around. I think that's 6 out of 21 are still on track with their eligibility with the Noles. I'll go ahead and recount this one more time here. Samuel Cooper, that's 2. Man, Briggs is 3. Jordan Young is 4. Jalen Goss is 5, and Keyshawn Hilton is 6. Yeah, so 6 out of 21 guys. That means 15 players that you signed in that 2018 class are no longer on campus. 15 of 21. That wrecks your roster. And then obviously comes the transfer portal, which was also very ill-timed for the Noles because a lot of those guys came in highly rated. They felt like they should be playing early, and with all the different coaching turnover, they obviously felt that they were greener pastures. And hard to blame them, right? You signed up for one guy, and then they axe him in 2 years, and the new guy comes in. So obviously some challenges there, but that's a major problem right now. This roster does not have, in a time of super seniors and COVID seniors, right, as we call them, the guys who have that 6th year, FSU is lacking in people who have 4 years, right? Where are their 4th year players who have been in the program, who know what's going on? So obviously, I think that pretty much demonstrates what happens here, why you don't have that competitive depth on this team. But I'll continue. I actually, if you look at Willie's first full class, the class he actually had a full year to put together, we recall this class for some of the misses in it, right? Trying to still get Evan Neal when everybody who knew anything would tell Willie and his staff that they were not going to sign Evan Neal that late in the year, given the year that they were going to have. But this class it's almost half your starters right now, right? They signed 21 guys again, and one of their misses was obviously Maurice Goolsby, who signed a letter of intent but never enrolled. But 16 out of the 21 in this class are still on the roster / on track to finish their eligibility with the Noles. And that class has some guys who are either starting or contributing, right? Akeem Dent, Brendan Gant, Travis J, Lucas is gone, Quayshawn Fuller still around and maybe turning the corner there. Jaleel McCray obviously doesn't do much. Kalen Deloach improving into a really nice player. Raymond Woody transferred. Curtis Fan transferred. Ronald Green, still a contributor. McClendon, contributor. Darius Washington, starter, and turned out to be a good player. Jarvis Brownlee, ditto. True Thompson, got hurt, still around. Obviously, has contributed some in prior years. Kevon Glenn is out. Ira Henry, not a contributor. Jay Williams, I believe, completed his eligibility as a senior. I think he was a 1-year JUCO guy. Maurice Smith, obviously a starter. Malcolm Ray actually played some nice snaps for you against North Carolina at the defensive tackle spot, and then Ryan Fitzgerald is your kicker. So your first full class is not really a problem here at all. It's the 2018 class where you have no seniors, right? And no, like you need. I was thinking about this. I mean, you got guys like Wake Forest has all these starters returning, and these are 22, 23-year-old men. And FSU's got some talented dudes who can hang with them, but the backups can't hang, right? The backups are 18, 19-year-olds who are somewhat talented, but probably not normally FSU talented, and they certainly are more inexperienced. All right, let's go ahead. So pretty big change there, right? I mean, 6 to 15 in the 2018 class, 6 yes, 15 no's. In the 2019 class, 16 yeses, 5 no's. I mean, that's a pretty big difference, y'all. Let's go ahead and go, though, to the 2020 class. This is the first class that Mike Norvell has signed. And here, I think we'll see a bit of a concerning trend, and I expect a lot more attrition from this class. This is not the full class Mike signed. This is the short season, early signing period class where you're hired and you have like 16 days to put together a recruiting class. Again, this is where I really think that the chance that you're getting guys, especially your top-rated guys, that the rest of the industry didn't actually want is extremely high, right? I am very skeptical of some of these recruiting battles that these staffs win. It doesn't mean all of them, but I'm skeptical of recruiting battles after seeing this data for 4 years now that these staffs win when they are just hired. Because I kind of wonder, okay, wait, you're going after this kid, and this guy's going after this kid, and this guy was also just hired. Why is no established coaching staff really fighting, for this kid? But obviously, I think there's also some self-selecting bias in that, why did you fire your coach, right? You probably were having some tough circumstances, so maybe that's why some of the very best schools don't want some of these kids. So let me go and run down this list. And I will say on the surface that Mike's numbers actually look okay here. But I think if you go under the hood a little bit, there's obviously some problems. Damari Tate had the academic redshirt year, his first year, and then got hurt. I think there's still some hope for him, but we'll see. He was their composite 4-star in the class, 35th overall. Brian Robinson, their number 2 player, just transferred out. Chubba Purdy has had some injury issues, but he also can't seem to see the field, which has me very skeptical that he's going to be a long-term answer at the quarterback position. Jadarius Green-McKnight doesn't really get on the field very much. Lourdes Toafili, okay. I mean, he's not a bad player, but like he's clearly not one of the top two backs in this or on this team. Steven Dix looks like $1 million, but just the mental side of the game isn't really there quite yet. Ja'Kai Douglas, somebody who I thought actually was going to be a decent slot, hasn't really seemed to blossom into a contributor despite the receiver room being terrible. So those were your guys in the top 300. None of them start. Toafili is a backup for you, but like none of you signed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in the top 300 in that year, and I would expect normally in a normal year that you would have more than one of those guys starting for you as second-year players, and right now they have none. And then Corey Wren, who's obviously somebody you took because of the speed, hasn't really super stayed healthy, and they're trying to find a way to use him. Kendron Poitier, 493 in the country, long-term project. Maybe there's some hope there. We'll see. Jayon McCluster, I don't think he's ever going to play here. He was your last top 500 player. So again, in reviewing this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys in the top 500 that Norvell signed in that short season class. 0 starters in their second year. 0. That's difficult, and I think there's a reason. I'm very skeptical of these short season classes that these guys sign when they sign up. Now, some of the guys they had to fight over some, but maybe they weren't quite as big of a battles. Robert Scott, they beat out Arkansas, another coach. In his first year there with Sam Pittman, they wanted him. I believe Ole Miss wanted him as well, if I recall. With again another guy in his first year there. Robert Scott's actually turned into a decent player for you. Not a star, but could be a decent guy, maybe a guard at the next level if he's able to go pro. Sidney Williams gets some burn for you in the secondary. Josh Griffiths obviously off the team. Thomas Schrader, somebody who they were kind of hopeful on, but then he got hurt. I don't know. We'll see kind of what his long-term outlook is. We got to see him without the shoulder pads at the Louisville game, and I know Ingram was kind of disappointed in physical development there. So we'll have to see how much bigger he can get. Tate Rodemaker, I don't think he's ever going to play. Darian Williamson, see. I mean, receiver was having some trouble catching the ball. Has played in a couple games this year. Zane Herring, we'll see. LaDamian Webb's already off the roster. Carter Boatwright not going to play. DJ Lundy actually gets some burn for this team and is a starter in some games. Lloyd Willis, I think long-term could be something. TJ Davis, we'll see, possibly. Marcus and Douglas, I'm not really buying that. Mastromano, the punter, obviously, and then Manny Rogers. So in that class, Mike and company signed 25 guys. 5 are already not completed their eligibility here after just 2 years. And I mean, if you set the over-under at the number that will actually complete their eligibility at Florida State, it has to be under 50%, right? There's no way you think of those remaining 20 names that I read off that half will stay 4 years or more. This is just the reality of signing a short season class. I think you're getting guys who other teams knew were flawed at the time, that maybe as an industry we didn't know were quite as flawed. And we're seeing this at other schools too. This is not a Florida State issue. The issue of Florida State is that they've had 2 coaches or 2 short season classes in a 3-year span. The transfer portal hit, which allowed those guys to bolt right after you made a coaching change. And then you also had COVID hit, which meant that the 2021 class that you signed, you didn't really have much time to evaluate and get out to meet these kids. I will say, though, that they're actually kind of optimistic on the 2021 class relative to its ranking. That class finished, 22nd nationally and 4th in the ACC. Hunter Washington could be a contributor. I don't know if he's going to be like a no-doubt starter long-term. Malik McClain, they obviously like. We'll see on Seanbury Jackson. They like Amarion Cooper a lot. Robert Orr could be a long-term guy for them and be a player. I think Patrick Payton could be somebody long-term for them. George Wilson, maybe the same. Byron Turner, I think, will probably be a contributor at some point. Josh Burrell, the same. Bryson Estes, we'll see. Kevin Knowles, I think, is already a hit. I mean, the guy can cover at an ACC level and is already contributing on this defense. Jackson West, I know they're high on long-term. Josh Farmer, the same. Jordan Eubanks at linebacker, Again, we'll see Shane Brown. I know they're very high on long term. Kobe Gross, don't know. And then Destin Hill, who I expect to be part of the class of 2022. So that even in a COVID year, right, where none of these kids had ever really had much of a chance to get out and meet Mike Norvell's staff, I think over half of them had never met the staff in person. Even in a COVID year, I think their hit rate on the 2020 class, the year that they actually had the year to get to know these kids over Zoom, is going to be higher than Mike's short season class or than Willie's short season class. And so this is the issue, right? When you have this much attrition and this many guys leaving the program, and other programs out there who've had some coaching stability, they have these super seniors who got the free year to come back for another year. Your depth is really exposed on a week-to-week basis. If this team has very good injury luck, it can stay healthy and be competitive in some of its remaining games, right? If it doesn't, I think the blowouts return, and they may get blown out anyway in one or two of these. They may just have an off day, or what they're trying to do doesn't match up really style-wise with what the opponent wants to do. But I don't know. I thought about this when Robinson transferred. I was like, damn, how many guys in that class of 2020, so the short season class that Mike signed, how many were rated in the top 500 nationally, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No starters. I mean, you expand it out. How many were rated in the top 1,000, right? Or the top 800? And you only had 1 or 2 starters there. That's kind of an issue, and is one that is going to take a couple of years to recruit out of. This is not going to be fixed with just one more class. They need like 2 more classes to kind of get this thing back to a competitive ACC roster, in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, if you're a fan of another team, watch this video and think about the consequences of firing somebody after only 2 years. I understand why they did it, certainly. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that was problematic, and the administration did not have confidence that the team was going in the right direction. And but that doesn't mean they get to hit the microwave and just fast forward this thing, or whatever analogy you want to use, on the roster rebuild. You fire a coach after 2 years in the early signing period era, you're going to have a roster problem, more likely than not. And we're seeing that across the country in a couple spots. FSU just happens to be a shining example of it. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys again on Thursday night / Friday morning. Maybe we'll do a little like live chat thing on Thursday night, depending if we want to open this thing up. If you guys like that, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe as always, and thank you for supporting us. I should probably give our sponsors a shout out on this. Thank you to Louisiana Hot Sauce, Tarpon Cellars, the awesome team at Legendary Home Loans, Chad and Shannon, 844-FSU Loan, Matt at Congruity HR Solutions. If you're a small business or big business, needs help with payroll, HR solutions, give Matt a call at Congruity HR Solutions. And also, of course, shout out to Matt at Madison Social. I'll see you guys next time.